AJ starts off this hour in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, AJ, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. I was hoping you could help me. I'm wondering whether or not I'm ready to buy a house or if I need to rent for a few years. I was hoping you could help me with that.
Okay. What we teach folks to do, the best way to buy a home, because we want the home to be a blessing rather than a curse. And sometimes people, when they're broke and they buy a house, the house beats them up financially. And it's, you know, because it's kind of told, everybody walks around talking about buying a house as if it's always a good thing. And it's not if you're not ready. So we teach people to be out of debt, have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, plus a good, strong down payment, and then not buy a house where the payment is more than a fourth of your take-home pay on a 15-year fixed. And that's the guidelines we've used for years around here. Now, that's kind of countercultural because everybody in the culture runs around going, buy house, buy house, buy house, buy house, you know, as if you're some kind of a reprobate or something if you haven't bought a house while you're broke. But if you're sitting with a car payment, a student loan payment, a boat payment and everything else, payment, and, you know, you buy a house, the stinking house is going to beat the snot out of you. That makes sense?
Right. Yeah. So I'm in baby step 3 right now.
Good.
And I just wasn't sure because I don't make a ton of money right now. Mm-hmm. But I project that my income is going to increase pretty significantly in the next 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm. What do you do?
I didn't know if I could maybe buy a house and then kind of grow into it, if that makes sense.
What do you do?
So I work for a family business. I'm currently a service technician on capital equipment. Mm-hmm. But I'll be kind of changing roles over the next few years into sales and eventually running day-to-day.
Cool. How old are you?
24.
Good. And how much do you make?
I take home between $1,800 and $2,600 a month, depending on profit-sharing bonuses.
Yeah, okay. Well, once you get out of baby step 3, if you saved up a good down payment and you met those guidelines that I'm talking about based on your current income, not your future income, and you want to buy an inexpensive, it's going to be an inexpensive little starter house or starter condo of some kind, that's an okay thing to do. It's not the end of the world. It might be that it's okay for you to rent for a couple more years until your income, because I suspect your income is going to more than double in the next 3 years.
Right.
Which would change the house. That would change the house you could afford, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's not a sin to rent for a little while in your 20s. What I don't want folks doing is being a renter their whole lives, because you've missed out on a huge lift to your financial situation. Home ownership is good for you long term. But the rush to do it quickly and prematurely will damage you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I don't want you buying a house because you think you're going to make $5,000 a month based on $5,000 a month. And no, I don't want you buying a house until you finish your emergency fund and you have a good down payment. So if you were to buy, next spring, which is probably how long it's going to take you to get to that point, you're going to buy something fairly conservative, and, in 3 years you might be moving again, which would be okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. I was just kind of worried because you're always talking about getting your house paid off in 10 years. I didn't know if I was going to put myself behind or anything like that.
But you just keep aiming at that, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, let's say I'm guessing you're single, right?
That's right.
Okay. So let's say you're 27 and you had bought next spring you buy a little $60,000 or $80,000 condo, right? And you get the stinking thing paid off. That's right. Then you sell it and buy another property and you take on a little bit of a mortgage and get it paid off in a couple of years. You're still heading on your 10-year plan to have a nice paid-for property, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you might be doing a little bit of a two-step here, but that's okay. You can get around and do that, but just don't go too fast into these things. Don't push too hard into these things. So, good question. Very good discussion. Thanks for calling in.